Bună dimineața și bun găsit la BU. Sunt Sabina Iosub și vă invit să rămâneți alături de mine în următoarea jumătate de oră. O să discutăm despre situația din Ucraina. Vedem ce a făcut Uniunea Europeană pentru a-i ajuta pe ucraineni, însă și în ce fel România a contribuit la remedierea situației de acolo. Mulți refugiați din Ucraina au ajuns în țara noastră. 3 interviuri exclusive astăzi la BU. Primul cu vicepreședintele executiv al Comisiei Europene, Frans Timmermans.
First of all, I have to start by saying that Romanians can be extremely proud of their country today. 500,000 of people have found refuge in your country, and we are all in deep admiration of what the Romanian people is doing to help those poor people who have to flee from their homes. And what we need to do is show this solidarity across the European Union. We have to make sure that we don't leave this burden to 1 or 2 member states, not just to Poland and Romania, but that we all do our part on a personal level and on an official level to make sure those refugees, and there will be many more, I fear, will find a safe refuge in Europe. That is a very important thing. Secondly, we have to continue to support the democratically elected government in Ukraine with weapons, with material support, with food, with water, with medical supplies if they need them. Anything should be done to support and help them. And thirdly, we need to quickly reduce our dependency on Russian energy. We have to be more sovereign in terms of our energy production.
We know that Alexander Novak just said today that Russia might put an embargo on Nord Stream 1. This means actually cutting off the energy for the European Union in general. What may be the response of the European Union?
Well, my immediate response is, if they do that, we can handle it. If they do that, we can handle it. We have plans in place to make sure that this doesn't lead to a crippling of our economy. This doesn't lead to a problem with our energy supplies. And we are also working very hard that by the end of the year, by the end of this year, we will have reduced our gas imports from Russia by 2/3. So we are moving very quickly now to make sure that Russia will never be in a position to try and blackmail us with their energy.
You've said 2 days ago that countries planning to burn coal as an alternative to Russian gas could do so in line with the European climate's goal. I've quoted you from Politico. Please explain what this actually means for a country like Romania, because you know that our dependency of coal is kind of big.
Yes, and also Romania depends on natural gas as well. And in the plans that we see in countries like Romania, it was envisaged to move away from coal, then into natural gas as a bridging solution, and then finally to renewables, solar, wind, hydrogen, geothermal, etc. Now, what we can do, if you don't want to prolong the dependency on Russian gas, is to skip the middle part, but that can only work if we introduce renewables much earlier. So you can use coal a bit longer, but only if you introduce renewables earlier, because otherwise you would be in breach of the climate law, which compels us to reduce our emissions with at least 55% by 2030. That is still possible, even if you would stay with coal a bit longer, as long as you speed up the introduction of renewables. And Romania is in an excellent position to have a lot of renewable energy. Offshore wind is a huge potential for Romania. Rooftop solar, there's so much we can do in Romania. Romania will be part of the future hydrogen economy in the EU. That's also a huge potential. And Romania has a lot of potential also in the money that is part of the Recovery and Resilience Plan to invest in that transition.
27 countries, 27 different economies and different dependencies on Russian gas, if we are looking just at this situation. Do you consider that all the countries can and will actually take the measures in order to cut the dependency from Russia's gas? Because you've said you have a new plan that will be discussed. I don't know which part of this plan you can explain to us now.
Well, it is clear that not everyone depends in equal terms on Russian gas. So, like with many issues, not every member state is touched by this in the same way. But we have seen in this crisis, we've seen with this Russian aggression, what has astonished Putin is that we were united as Europeans. He has been investing over 20 years in trying to create divisions between us, in giving money to radical right-wing parties who are anti-European, in stoking up societal unrest on moral issues, etc., etc. He's tried that, and he's completely failed. So the strongest thing we have going for us is our unity. And that means that if we have different situations in the energy sector, we need to show solidarity with those countries who have the biggest challenge in this transition.
In the end of our discussion, because I know your schedule, your agenda is actually very, very full today, and thank you again for being with us. In the end of our discussion, what is your message for those who are still thinking that the European Union is not doing enough?
I think we will see very soon that the sanctions we have agreed will have a huge negative effect on Putin's regime. I also believe, and I want to make this very clear, nothing is off the table. We could have more sanctions, we could have more measures. I want just to say one thing. Our success is our unity, and we will do everything to maintain that unity and to come to the rescue of those countries who are most in danger of being put under pressure by Putin.
And something you want to say in the end for Romanians who are watching you right now?
Well, once again, I want to end where I started. I am looking at the TV every hour of the day, and I see the way Romanians have received these refugees, 500,000 refugees from Ukraine. And this must be a really, really proud moment for the Romanian nation. And you are being admired by all of us in the rest of Europe for doing this. Thank you very much.
Aflat în țara noastră, într-o vizită oficială, comisarul care se ocupă de zona managementului situațiilor de criză ne-a vorbit despre felul în care România a reușit să gestioneze problema refugiaților.
How does the European Commission manage this crisis?
Well, this is the biggest humanitarian crisis since the Second World War on the European continent. And of course, as such, it requires enormous efforts to try to alleviate the suffering of Ukrainian people that we are witnessing now every day. So we are trying to use and mobilize all our tools, all our resources, in particular two. First is the humanitarian aid. We have immediately more than tripled the humanitarian aid that we are channeling to Ukraine. We have been in Ukraine with the humanitarian programs already since 2014 when the conflict in Donbass erupted. But with this completely new crisis of completely different magnitude, we need to step up. And we did so. We have contributed 90 million euro of humanitarian aid as an initial allocation to the United Nations appeal for Ukraine humanitarian program. The other tool that we are using is the Union Civil Protection Mechanism. Ukraine asked for assistance already before the Russian aggression, but also after it updated its request. It asks for every imaginable item, from food, fuel, medical equipment, medicines, shelter, tents, blankets, sleeping bags, and so on. And we are mobilizing the responses, offers from EU member states and other countries. And I'm very pleased to see that the response to Ukrainian request is extraordinary. It is amazing. It shows the solidarity on the European continent. We are now running, thanks to this response, this generous response, the largest ever operation in Union civil protection.
How do you see what Romania has done in that crisis?
Romania has traditionally been one of the most active and constructive partners of European Union in the civil protection. And it has again proven this during this crisis. It has responded to Ukrainian requests very early. It has provided a lot of items, a lot of medicines, medical equipment, shelter and food and fuel. And in addition to that, something which is very important, it has worked with us and very closely in setting up a logistical hub, which I visited yesterday in Suceava. And these hubs are very important because they facilitate the provision of emergency aid to Ukraine.
So it works, this hub?
We witnessed this together with Dr. Arafat, Chief of Department of Emergency Situations of Romania. We witnessed the first big shipment of medical equipment through this hub, and it worked very well.
What funds does the European Commission put into this for same hubs, for example?
Well, the hub is part of the civil protection budget that we have and which is used for this kind of operations, to facilitate the logistics, to facilitate the transportation, to facilitate the delivery of emergency aid that is requested by a country which finds itself in dire situation, like Ukraine today. But there are also other tools. I mentioned already humanitarian aid that can be used in countries outside of the European Union. But there are also several tools that are or will be available for member states of the European Union, especially those that are particularly exposed to high influx of refugees from Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Are we waiting a new wave of refugees in Romania here? Or?
I hope not, but I'm afraid it is quite possible that there will be additional waves of refugees. If we only look at how the Russian military conducts their operations, you can expect additional people fleeing for safety, because we see daily reports of bombing of civilian infrastructure, of targeting civilians. We saw yesterday abhorrent destruction of maternity hospital in Mariupol. So with this kind of behavior of Russian forces, of course we must be prepared for further waves of refugees to come.
Tot în România a fost în urmă cu câteva zile și comisarul pentru Afaceri Interne. Mi-a acordat un interviu în exclusivitate în care explică foarte clar că valul de migranți va crește în perioada următoare. Commissioner Johansson, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Let's discuss about the situation in Ukraine and having huge pressure on borders of the neighbors, Poland, Hungary and Romania. Also, you've been to Romania last week.
Yes, we have seen already more than 2 million people fleeing from Ukraine. And this is really a very high number in only 2 weeks. And we have also seen an unprecedented efforts from citizens, from volunteers, NGOs, local authorities, national authorities in Romania, in Poland, but also in Hungary and Slovakia. So this has really been solidarity in practice. Unfortunately, things are getting worse in Ukraine. The war is ongoing, bombs are falling. I guess that we need to be prepared for many more million that will flee from Ukraine and need protection in the European Union.
So what can we do more together, of course?
Yes, I spoke to Lucian Bode this morning about to thank him for all Romania has been doing under these very difficult circumstances, and what we also discussed the next step. So what is necessary now? We have set up a solidarity platform in the frame of the Temporary Protection Directive, where member states share, saying, for example, we have capacity in this town or in this region. All member states are now preparing for a significant increase of Ukrainian refugees to come, but also to have support, especially to the countries of first entry. We have taken the decision in the Commission to make available funds for schooling, for housing, for the immediate needs that need to be covered right now for these people.
I've said you've been to Romania, you've seen how the Romanians were opening actually their homes, opening their hearts for those who are coming here, running away from war. How do you think Romania has done until now?
I think Romania has done this tremendously well. I must say I'm really impressed, and especially of all those citizens that are really stepping in now and showing this solidarity, opening their homes, but also the border guards, the police, the local and regional authorities. I think really, when I was in Syria at the border with Romania and Ukraine, I said mulțumesc Romania, and that still stands. I think Romania is doing this very well.
The European Union puts enough funds in order to tackle the situation at the borders, or there is still need of money?
Well, we have enough money for the immediate situation, but unfortunately, as I already said, I think it will get worse. I think we will receive millions of more people to come. I think, unfortunately, that we have to prepare that this can be for a very long time. And that, of course, then we're going to need additional funding. And this is one of the things that we are working on now in the Commission. But for the immediate needs, yes, we have made funds available.
Can we estimate the number of citizens that will finally leave their country, Ukraine? Someone said 5 million maybe, or are we expecting for more? Because it's important if we know what is the expectation.
Yes, but unfortunately, it's very difficult to predict. So I think it's more like guessing when you do it. We're going to have a lot of people also internally displaced in Ukraine. And also the proportion, because I guess we're going to have even more people internally displaced in Ukraine than people fleeing. So we're going to have huge needs in Ukraine and huge needs for all those that managed to flee to the European Union. So I stay with the many more million. That's the figure I use. I don't want to be more precise than that at this moment.
I know that you've also spoke with one Romanian MEP yesterday, with Victor Negrescu, about the Schengen situation of Romania. Can you explain or tell us if there are going to be some good news for us in these terms?
Well, from the Commission side, we think that it's time for Romania to enter the Schengen area. So, in the last Council meeting, I also raised this towards all the ministers, saying that we can see now how Romania is protecting our external borders in a very good way, and Romania has met all have met all the criteria to be able to be a fully fledged member of Schengen. So in my view, it's time for Romania to be a Schengen member.
We need unanimity. Will this time have one?
I think this is a question to ask to the Council presidency rather than to me.
Yeah, that's right. Let's focus a little bit on children also, because we are seeing a lot of children entering our country. Part of them are not accompanied, and I think it's very important to see how can we tackle their situation also.
Yes, this is actually the issue that concerns me the most. That's the children. We have already 1 million children, half of those fleeing are children. And one thing is that we really need to give some normality in the lives of these children. So it's important that they today or tomorrow can start going to school or to childcare, to have some kind of normality in their lives, but also for parents to be able to go to work and to find a job. So this is important to focus on the children. And unfortunately, we know from experience that when we have massive migration flows, there are always criminals that take advantage of the situation. So there is a huge risk of vulnerable children being trafficked. Children that have lost their parents during the journey, or the orphans that are coming or that are coming unaccompanied or are just in a vulnerable situation. So this, we really need to stay very vigilant. We have from the European Commission reached out to the network of national coordinators for against human trafficking that we have in all member states to help to put this issue higher up on the agenda. Europol stands ready with their expertise to help border guards and police at the national level. What kind of signs should you look for to be aware that this might be a victim of trafficking?
What is, in the end of our discussion, the message for Romanians who are watching you right now?
Europe stands united in a way we've never ever been when it comes to migration. Europe stands in solidarity in a way we've never done when it comes to migration. We managed to get a unanimous decision in Council to activate the Temporary Protection Directive. That has never ever happened before. And we have these solidarity platforms where all member states stands ready, and of course together with the Commission, to support countries of first entry and to make sure that this time we will manage the situation.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for being with us.
Thank you.
BU a ajuns la final, rămâneți însă pe Antena 3 și nu uitați că ne revedem și sâmbătă viitoare la 9:30. Cu bine și sănătoși să fim!